It's David Ducker coming back at you, and today I'm going to be talking about my number one piece of advice, not just in role playing games, but perhaps in life as well. People ask me for a lot of advice. I've got over 300 videos here. I'm very active in several forums, the local RPG community. People come to me and they say, Dave, my main man, your games are always excellent and opulent. You're well educated and researched. You know how to make it work. I've come into a problem and I need to know how can I make this situation work. And they'll reel off the problem to me, the situation, and I'll look at them and say, I have no idea how you can make that work. And it comes back to this piece of advice, which is the foundation, which is to keep your goal in mind, which is to plan ahead, plan for success, prepare for success. And if you don't do that, you can paint yourself into a corner. Once you're painted into the corner, asking someone for advice on how to get out of the corner is like 95% of the time, they won't have a way for you to get out of the corner. The way to solve that is to never have it happen in the first place. So at every step along your journey through RPGs, through life as a player, as a GM, keep the big picture in mind, keep the future in mind, and plan ahead. Have a foundation for success to build upon for the future. And people can ask me, Dave, we're coming up to the end of the campaign. How can I make the main villain excellent in 2 sessions? And I'm like, well, I don't know. 2 sessions? I don't think I can do anything great in 2 sessions. You need to set this up long term. If you want to have that big villain, I'd take at least 10 sessions to really tell their story, to have the intro, to have the real heat, the inciting incident, and then lead into the ending. I would take 10 sessions if you're building up this rivalry. Or people ask me, I've got the end of the campaign is coming up. I've got all these clues I've been giving out. What do you think the clues should come together to actually mean? I'm like, well, I don't know. That should determine what clues you give out. You should start at the end and work your way back. You can't just hot shot and improvise and then think it'll all make sense at the end of the day. It just won't. It's not going to happen. People will come to me and they'll say, oh, Dave, I've got this setting I've built. I've got cultures and history and worlds and NPCs. What story can I tell in it? I'm like, well, I don't know. What did you design that setting to tell? They're like, oh, I just designed it without thinking of how to use it. I'm like, well, that's the problem. I just started a campaign without thinking of the ending. That's a problem. I just started a campaign without thinking of who the villain is going to be, where the heat factor will be. That's a problem. Everybody's made their characters. How do I bring them together and make a team out of them? You can't. You need to make a team. Even you can make a team that hasn't even met yet. But when they meet, they click together like Lego blocks, like a puzzle. And that's very easy to do. And I've done videos on that. But if you haven't done that first step, all the subsequent steps will be more difficult. You'll be off balance. You'll be stumbling, staggering. You want to start hot and then accelerate from there. You don't want to start stumbling around, shuffling on uneven ground in the dark with mismatched shoes, and then think you're going to set a land speed record. You want a nice flat level terrain, the best shoes. You want to train up ahead of time. You want it to be a bright day. Maybe hit some pre-workout, get some coffee, get some energy drink in you, and then have starting blocks to push off of, and then maybe you can hit the land speed record. But if you're just like, oh, I'm almost at the end of the marathon, how can I make the land speed record? It's too late. You already started. The first step is to lay the foundation. You don't start building a house and then it starts tilting and you're like, oh, how can I keep it from collapsing? Like, you probably can't. The way to keep the house from collapsing is to build a strong foundation. And a lot of people don't do that. Um, Juice did a post. He said he's designing his own rule set. I said, great. Uh, but just keep your goal in mind. Is this for new players or veterans? Is it for mass consumption or is it more niche? Are you going to be able to market it or there's no marketing? Right? These are all decisions that will determine the form and function of that rule set. If you're making it for rookies and you want to train them, you'll have a totally different design than something designed for veterans from the get-go. And if you're building something where you just want to keep selling them more supplements over and over and over and over, then you don't want to tell them how to write their own supplements because you want to be a corporate pig and slurp up all those profits for yourself. Get down in the mud, keep the players down and make sure you're the font of all wisdom and knowledge so that you can get their money, separate them from their money. And their game might suck, but you'll get the money. And I'm sure we can all think of companies that have designed their games to do that. And that, it might be an evil, horrible goal, or very novel and excellent if you're, this paragon of capitalism. And I love big corporations. If you're that guy, then fine. But either way, they've at least kept their goal in mind in the design process. And you need to do that too. Whether you're making a character and you need to think, what's his story going to be 50 sessions from now? How's he going to fit in the team? How does he fit in the setting? Is he interested in the main plot the GM has pitched? Or whether it's the GM saying, I've got this kind of an idea for a setting. What story can I tell in that setting? What characters can explore that story? The campaign tripod. One leg of the tripod is useless by itself. You need all three. You need the setting, the story that setting is designed to tell, and you need a team who is from that world, the setting, and who's interested in paying attention to the story, and who's able to interact and change that story. And just set the foundation. And then once you're all set, everything falls into place by itself. You don't have to do very much work at all between sessions if you lay the foundation. It makes sense, right? So that's my number one piece of advice. It's what I always give people. They'll ask me, and I'll say, well, what was your plan? What was your plan when you started this endeavor? Just do that. Just follow through on what your original plan was. And usually they say, I didn't have a plan. I just started doing things. But now I want it to be actually cohesive and make sense and be excellent. I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that. That's good luck. I don't know how you're going to do it either. If you start off saying, I'm going to be cohesive and excellent, I'm going to lay the foundation, the party's all going to get along, they're never going to split, they're going to be interested in the main storyline, and that story is one that interacts with the setting and its history and moves forward. I mean, a role-playing game at that point is pretty easy, really. Who are your power players? What tools do they have? How can they use those tools against the PCs? Would they want to? What do they know? And you just follow logic. And then at the end of the day, it makes logical sense looking back. But if you just start from a point of weakness, it's very hard to ever recover and come into a point of strength. So I just wanted to, again, I've done this exact video before, but angrier. But I just wanted to share it again and say, what was your plan? What is your goal? Always keep your goal in mind. Always have a plan. And you should always succeed. Prepare to succeed. Prep to success. And keep it simple and follow logic. That's my number one advice pretty much in life. but I repeat it over and over and over and over again in RPGs. So until I see you again, good day, good gaming, and keep your goal in mind.